I am reporting directly from Yerevan, Armenia, but I have my good friend from France, Thierry Laurent, with us, a geopolitical analyst, intelligence analyst. Thierry, thank you for your time. A lot going on in France, and I wanted to contact you and find out what's happening.
Oh, yes, a lot is going on in France. Since the clash I had with the minister, I have been interviewed by major politicians. They wanted to understand what was going on, and the polemic is inflating and inflating and inflating at the point that this clash has been spreading all over internet and got something like 3 million views. So you can imagine, in fact, the impact it has. And actually, one of the senators that I know extremely well, Mr. Yves Pozzo di Borgo, have been even spreading this stuff over internet, and this is making a big, big buzz. It's incredible.
Wow.
Since then, I was supposed, in fact, to attend a meeting over risk assessments in Europe with a major executive next week in London, organized by the organization units, which is led by Dipti Bisht, an Indian citizen living in England. And I went to vacation during 2 days, and when I came back, my house was open, and my passport has been disappearing. So basically, certainly I'm facing some opposition to make sure that I will not operate whatsoever I need, in fact, to do. What is very surprising here is that this is in a context of a lot of suicided people. And I'm going to explain. Within the Department of Ministry of Economy and Finance, we have been hearing last week within a major newspaper, Le Monde, that 20 people got suicided.
Wow.
20 people getting suicided in 6 months within the Ministry of Economy. What is going on here? This is extremely strange, that there might be 1 or 2 or 3 that can happen, but 20, it is not a trend. This is a phenomenon that is supernatural, you know?
Yes.
And what I suspect is that some of them might be pushed or executed because certainly they don't want those people to spread the news of what the administration of Macron has been doing on a financial point of view. So basically, this guy is just cleaning the ground because the end of his mandate will be in 2 years. And therefore, he will be entitled of lawsuit. If he has people that are able to say what he has been doing on a financial point of view, you can imagine, in fact, what is going to be the scandal. On top of it, you remember I was quoting the disappearance of Eric Denessé. He used to be a Marine intel, okay? And he was running a think tank of economic intelligence. I had a lot of talk with Mr. Denessé, and we were supposed, in fact, to set up a TV show. The last interview he had with a TVR, which is like a major channel on the web, he was criticizing the policy of Macron regarding Ukraine, and he was raising the fact that negotiation will be extremely difficult because as there is the rise of Nazism in Ukraine, all this group that has been constituted and that has been growing over time after the Maidan coup are becoming extremely dangerous. And those guys, they will never accept that the conflict will be stopping. So basically, this video has been making an enormous buzz. And as he was a part of he was a former Secret Services, DGSE, you can imagine that this guy had a major audience and a major credibility. Actually, I was one of the first discussing with Mr. Denessé in 2015 when I came back from Ukraine after living there 10 years. And escalating a certain numbers of information of whoever would be necessary to neutralize in the way that the situation that we are living today will not occur. But unfortunately, within the government, nobody was listening.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a major problem. His disappearance is, they are calling this a suicide, but there is another problem. The former heads of DGSE, Mr. Alain Juillet, has been saying that information was escalating to him, that there was no footprint on the gun he is supposed to use for killing himself, and he had no gloves. How can you shoot yourself without leaving any footprints on a gun that is supposed to have killed you? It's impossible. So yesterday I went to the police station and I have been reporting this in the way that the Procurer of the Republic will open a real investigation, and this case will be digged into in the way that justice will be on the table. Because it seems to me that right now in France, our political and judicial system is becoming a banana republic. It is like what is happening in Ukraine for the last 10 years, you know?
Yes. It's very similar.
Yeah, they were setting up the coup of Maidan because it was supposed, in fact, to go against the corruption. Corruption under Yanukovych, where it was kind of not that substantial. It was like a phenomenon, except with the banks, because most of the oligarchs, they were controlling the banks. And when the funding were coming from USA or from Europe, the money was disappearing. Right now, it has been ignited to a scale that nobody can imagine. Most of the funds that has been sent, you can be ensured that for the last 3 years, 30% of it has been disappearing. It is an outrage. And what we are seeing right now, with the fact that Zelensky want to minimize the capacity of the NABU, which is an organization, to chase the corruption, to operate, then we are going to witness a new Maidan. And this is what I was saying in my book, at the conclusion of my book that I closed 3 years ago. I say, be careful.
Let me just say something there, because I met with Artem Sipnik in Kiev in 2015, I believe, when NABU was established. And that is a Soros-run organization or State Department-run organization to prevent corruption from being exposed under the Ukrainian government. I think today it's being unleashed on Zelensky because I think Trump wants Zelensky gone. And I think they are outing this corruption to get him gone. And he sees this and is stopping it. What say you?
Well, I can understand the political means that are hiding behind the curtain. Nevertheless, it would have been happening sooner or later.
Yeah.
Because the corruption has been going to a level that is just insane. On top of it, the population is seeing that their level of living is just collapsing. The economy is crashing because everything in Ukraine was artificial. If you look at the evolution of the GDP of Ukraine, you see that all the countries in 2021 GDPs is completely crashing because there was no economy. Everybody was in lockdown. If you look at the GDP of Ukraine, you see that it has been doubling since the Maidan. What does it mean? It means that the funding was rushing into Ukraine, but that was artificial. Because if you're receiving funding like this and you integrate it directly into the GDP, this is not the economic throughput that you are measuring. This is just artificial things, and it shows you at which point the country has been corrupted to the bone because the money is disappearing. We see the economy that is just collapsing. people in a level of poverty that is absolutely disgusting. And therefore, whatsoever would be happening on the political point of view or on the battle point of view, at the point in time, this story of a third Maidan, because this is number 3, would be happening. And this is what we are witnessing. On top of it, people start to realize that there is no more freedom of the press, freedom of religion. And talking about religion, you know exactly what is happening in Armenia. Mm-hmm. This is the plan of Europe. They are trying, in fact, to ignite a lot of fire everywhere. They want to erase the notion of religion. They mm-hmm. want to erase the notion of culture, of identity, of language, in the way that at the end, they will transform the full European bloc, including Central Asia, into a sort of consumer area, and to frame Russia to attack after that China. This is the World Economic Forum that is operating. But what we are witnessing right now is the consciousness of the population that are just raising, understanding what is beneath the curtains, and they are refusing what is their plan, in fact, to control the population. Because
let me just throw this article up just on that point. We published this last night on our Eastern European site, that what is going on in Ukraine, they are doing the same thing in Armenia as in destroying the church structure that has been in place for 1,000 years or longer. This is a 2,000-year-old church. Since 301, it was established. This is the first Christian cathedral in Armenia, and they're arresting the priests and putting them in jail and taking power away from the church. And that is what's going on here, just like in Ukraine and Romania, I am hearing. So back to you.
Well, they are attacking the religion that is, in fact, one of the major structure of the society. Mm-hmm. But you cannot control what people are believing or not. They want, in fact, to replace God by whatsoever new entity, wokeism or whatsoever, you know. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you are attacking these kind of things, this is the soul of people that you are attacking. And they will never accept you, in fact, to control. Look at what has been happening in USSR. They were just, the Bolshevik has been trying, in fact, to kill the orthodoxy. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the story, in fact, 100 years after that, the orthodoxy is becoming very, very strong, because this is something that people need, in fact, to live. They need to believe that they are supreme human beings with something that makes them differentiating themselves of animals, you see? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So basically, as soon as you try to touch this, you are dead meat. It's finished. And you know what is happening right now in Europe is a sort of rebirth of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And there is a new movement that is raising right now in France that goes against the government. And the 10th of September, there is a major call to the French population to stop the country. And this movement is a sort of second yellow jacket, but this time is going to be very different, because people are saying that their buying power has been completely collapsing, and the government of Bayrou, which is a second government after the dissolution of the parliament, is trying, in fact, to raise $45 billion by raising, in fact, the taxes, when we are the country that is paying the more tax in the world.
Yeah.
And people are saying, whoa, what are you doing here? We are paying an amount of tax that is absolutely gigantic. Our services in France, and especially hospitals, are collapsing completely. And you are telling us that you want to raise the tax. You want us to make effort when you are not shrinking. In fact, you're spending, and you are increasing the budget of the government, and you want to send another $3.5 billion to Ukraine. What is the story? Everywhere I go, everywhere I'm speaking with people, they all want to get rid of Macron. So basically, this guy has absolutely no legitimacy, in fact, to run the country. The last poll that was made by a major statistic organization, he came out with 18%. 18%, I am sure that they have been tweaking the numbers.
Those are just the people that are making money off this system and don't want it to end, right?
Exactly, but 18%, where is your credibility?
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
You see? Yeah. And I do believe that they have been doubling the numbers, because everywhere I go and I speak with people, people are hungry like I've never seen before, you know? If you look at the restaurant right now, you look at the Galleria. I was in a ski resort because I had a major knee problem and I had to see a doctor there. You are looking at the resort, it's empty. This is the first time in 20 years that I go there that I see the parking lots, they are completely empty during summertime, because mountaineers with ski resorts, they have been developing a lot of summer activities. So therefore, people that want to get to run away from the heat, what they do, they go to the mountain, in fact, to get some fresh air. Here, this year, in the middle of the summer, the resort is like a ghost city. I have never seen this before. What does it mean? It means that people, they are so scared, they don't want to go to vacation because the uncertainty of economy is such that, in fact, they want to keep the saving to make sure that they will be having a living if there is a problem. It means also that their buying power has been crashing completely, and they cannot afford, in fact, to go to vacation, because on top of it, we have such an inflation that the pricing of food in the resort is just skyrocketing. In the cities, in the plain, the prices are just like insane. But when you go to mountain, where you have, in fact, to ship and to bear the cost of the altitude, because to go there, you know, you burn a lot of energy. In fact, the prices are just crazy. This is unbelievable. I went to a supermarket. When I saw the prices, I'm like, whoa, guys, what is going on here? You know, how do you want, in fact, people not even to go to a restaurant, but to supermarket to buy the food in the way that they can cook for themselves? It's impossible. So basically, this new Yellow Jacket story that is going to ignite, if I remember well, this is on the 10th of September, is going to be major, because the government having no credibility right now, people are going to make a blast to make sure that this government is going to be kicked out. What we're suspecting is that Macron is waiting for this to trigger the Article 16 of our Constitution to take full power. Because don't forget one thing, his plan is about to federalize Europe. And he do agree with Stammer and Merz to proceed so. But besides this, what is very surprising is that Stammer is just participating to this masquerade because he's off Europe. UK has been exiting, so therefore they are not part of European Union. But
well, he wants them back, though.
Yeah, exactly. But they have a lot of interest in Ukraine because they are controlling most of the business there. And that is the reason why the MI6 is so active in Ukraine, because they don't want Russia, in fact, to take over. So basically, their plan is about to to make the people extremely scared about what is happening, and saying, oh, look, we are going to be invaded by Russia. What is this joke? You remember that during the Second World War, at the beginning in 1939, the German army was something like 5.3 million people. In 1944, the German army was constituted of 11.2 or 0.3 million people. And those guys were able, in fact, to invade Europe. It is not with 350,000 people that you are going to invade Europe. This is an operation that is located in Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin has absolutely no means, in fact, to go to Europe. This is bullshit. But they are using this fear to make sure that people will believe them. But the more it goes, the more people are not believing this bullshit, you know?
Well, on that note, we had a big development yesterday that Brigitte Macron has sued Candace Owens over her, whatever you want to call it, an outing of Brigitte's actual identity. What do you say about this?
I think it's the diversion. It's a diversion in regard of the fact that the economy is collapsing, that in Ukraine they cannot face up, in fact, Russia, because the mechanism that has been set up there is such that it will not happen. They do not have any military capacity, industrial military capacity. And actually, in fact, our chief army officer has been resigning yesterday. What does it mean? Burka has been saying, okay, bye-bye, I give up. Because he was obliged, in fact, to give a speech on TV to credibilize the policy that Macron wants to put together to push the population for a major conflict with Russia. This is crazy. Because this guy hasn't been understanding what Oreshnik means. You see? So basically,
the missile, yes.
He was like, wow, I have fire in the kitchen, everywhere, in the living room, in the bedroom. What should I do? Oh, Brigitte, go and try to make sure that, in fact, people are going to focus on this story. Now, I have a lot of things to say about that. End of May 2025, meaning 2 months ago, one of the former minister of Macron, because, you know, Macron is using minister like sponge. He's cleaning the table, cleaning the toilet, and then throw in the can. Marlène Schiappa was on BFM TV, a channel that is owned by the CEO of CMA CGM, the logistic operator in the world, which is a very big company. And she said in front of journalists, this is a shame. Can you believe that they are spoiling the memory of this poor Jean-Michel Trogneux that died, and this and that? And the journalist is like, what are you talking about? Jean-Michel Trogneux died? Yes, he died a year ago and nobody is taking care of his memory and everybody is insulting with this complotist journalist in the US and this and that. And journalist is like, can you explain me how come this Jean-Michel Trogneux is appealing to court of cassation, which is a sort of Supreme Court in France, cassation, okay? How he can appeal to cassation court when he's dead? How this is possible?
Only in France, my friend.
And suddenly she's in a panic mode because you know that one of the journalists, Natasha Ray, was sued by the Macron. And Natasha Ray, lawyer, has been appealing to court. And during the appeal, she has been winning against the Macron. So basically, she's off lawsuit. And she don't have, in fact, to pay for the fees and this and that. So basically, the Macron has been appealing to the Supreme Court mechanism. And they have been sending this minister, in fact, to try to ignite a counterfire in the way that this story will be completely confusing. But she was not expecting that the journalist is raising, in fact, this fact. So she's in a panic mode, and they have been shutting down completely the show immediately.
So
Because
how does this work in the court in the U.S. suing someone like that with open discovery? So you could look at her entire life. You could find out that the first 30 years of her life are reportedly don't exist.
Mhm.
So how does it work in France?
Well, I don't know where the lawsuit is going to be set up. If it is set up, because to sue a foreigner that is not living on the territory, this is going to be very difficult, because you will ask for the government of this country, in fact, to expel the citizen, and United States is not going to do that. If they
I
are
think
suing,
it was filed in Delaware, actually. So maybe in a U.S. court, which makes it interesting.
this is going to be very, very interesting then.
Yes.
And I am going to explain you why. If I was Candace Owens' lawyer, I would say, okay, they sue me. I like it so much. Now, my lawyer is going to ask to the judge to organize a DNA analysis under the scrutiny of the police, in the way that the sample that is going to be punctured is not going to disappear or go somewhere else that nobody wants. And then we will be fixed. Because actually, I'm going to tell you something. If the Macron, they wanted, in fact, to stop this crazy story, what they would have been doing? To put Jean-Michel Trogneux and Brigitte Macron on a show on TV at 8 o'clock, in the way that everybody is seeing the two person. Why they don't do that?
Yes.
Why they haven't been showing up during the prosecution of Natasha Ray? They would have been doing this, end of the story. They would have been showing up, both of them, in the court during the prosecution of the journalist, end of the story. Why they don't do that? Because they cannot. If they cannot, this is because this is the same person. And you know, we have a lot of problems with Algeria, because there is a lot of criminals coming from this country that are operating major attacks over our citizens. It's 150 attacks with knives every day. 150 every day. And the Minister of Justice is not able to expel those people, because Algeria need, in fact, to sign up a very specific court order to reaccept those citizens within the country. And they don't want to do it. So basically, the government of Algeria is just saying, Macron, we do whatsoever we want. You are going to keep those criminals. We don't care. And those guys, they are illegal on our territory. It's called OQTF status. They need to be kicked out. But without this court order, they cannot do it. And it has to come from Algeria. So basically, what is very funny in this story is we need to understand and to go backward in the history to understand what is going on here. Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel, when they came to an official visit in Algeria several years ago at the beginning of the mandate, she said, or he, we don't know, oh, I have been studying in this university, meaning the University of Alger. And the dean of the university, hearing this, what he did? Going in the record of the university. And he has been coming out with a statement within an interview on the Algerian television, saying, this is very strange. We don't have any Brigitte Trogneux that has been recording and studying into our university. But we have somebody called Jean-Michel Trogneux. Because when you are hiding such a lie over time, at a point in time, you are going to make a mistake. It is so big that you cannot hide too long to too many people whatsoever is your own story. And this is a major case of blackmail of government. If Macron was releasing his real life to the public, never, ever, he would have been elected. Because French people, they would never accept that such an individual with such a representation and family point of view, if I can call this family, would be elected at the heads of the country because he is not representing whoever we are. People in France are pretty much traditional, despite the fact that the society has been evolving. But honestly speaking, you see yourself represented with a guy living with another guy with a wig and a pair of orange into the bra? No.
Yeah.
It is like a nonsense. And actually, you're laughing, but look at a bunch of pictures of Brigitte, Jean-Michel, Trogneux, Macron. Sometimes you have the breast like this, sometimes like that. What the hell is going on here, you know? When there are some pictures on the beach, there is no breast at all. When she's dressing up, in fact, for receptions, officials, and so on, she has like enormous boobs. Where they are coming from?
Yeah.
You know, is it like inflatable? I don't know.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Thierry, I just want to point out your book. It is Ukraine, A Warning to the World. It's available at historyofbooks.com or anywhere books are sold. And this book is selling a lot. So people are waking up as to what is actually happening in Ukraine. But what else do you want to get out to the public today?
Well, if people really want to understand how we have been ending into this very dangerous and critical situation, they need to understand the history of this country. They need to understand the demographic and how it has been constituted. It is a geopolitical puzzle. And geopolitical puzzle at a point in time is just collapsing. Look at what has been happening in Yugoslavia. Mm-hmm. It has been collapsing due to difference of culture, difference of religion, and so on. And on top of it, because the West wanted to fragment completely this gigantic country to make sure they will be controlling it by financing the small blocks. So this is what I was saying actually to journalists in Croatia. I say, guys, I'm sorry, but what has been happening to Yugoslavia is exactly what is happening in Ukraine. It is collapsing because it was constituted over time with entities that could not live together. And if you do not want to come back to whatsoever was Yugoslavia, you need to accept what is happening in Ukraine, because this is the will of population, in fact, to live the way they want to live.
And not be forced into a major war where their country is depopulated.
Yeah, because initially, if you look at the history of Ukraine, you will understand that the south of Ukraine was belonging to Russia. The Donbass was belonging to Russia. Crimea was belonging to Russia. And what is going on right now is those populations, they're saying, we are Russian and we want to continue to be Russian. And actually, you know, Ukraine never been existing in history. It was always an oblast of Russia, meaning a region. It's like Texas. It would be like Texas for United States. Do you see yourself splitting Texas from the United States?
No.
Because this is the same culture. Because this is the same language. You see? Americans are Americans. But in Ukraine, it's different. You see? You have different ethnies. And those ethnies right now, because one wanted to dominate when it was a minority, the majority haven't been accepting it. So basically the minority has been trying, in fact, to take over by violence, by killing, by whatsoever those neo-Nazi groups have been operating during 10 years. And now the story is just coming to an end, where at the end of the story, there will be splitting, end of the story. And actually, this is a big mistake. It's an enormous mistake on a social point of view. Why? Because if you look at the imbrication of the families between Ukraine and Russia, you will see that you haven't got a Ukrainian that doesn't have any family in Russia. I was in the office of a minister of Vladimir Putin, and he used to be his personal economic advisor, Mr. Sergei Gladyev. You know where he was born? Zaporozhye, Ukraine. Yeah. So basically, Ukrainian guys, that has been studying in Moscow is now a minister of Vladimir Putin. His economic advisor, Mr. Takchuk, is from the same region of Zaporozhye. So basically, if you look at the demography in Russia now, you have 10 million people coming from Ukraine living there. So if Russia is the enemy, how come 10 million people are living in Russia?
Yeah.
You know, this narrative that has been built over time by the Western media is completely out of date, and it's a full lie. They have been built up this story in the way that people will be accepting that the conflict was fair and that Europe and the United States would be supporting it. But when you open your eyes and you look at what is on the ground and what is really happening, you understand that the entire story was made up. But a made up story that can end up into a nuclear conflict. And this story has to stop. Donald Trump
Agreed.
wanted to stop it, but he didn't put the right people in charge to make sure this is happening. And actually, if one of your people within your government wants so, I can help them out, in fact, to make sure that we will be stopping this stuff. But they need the knowledge.
Did you see, we reported this week that the Trump's envoy to Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg, his daughter runs a big NGO in Ukraine that profits off the war continuing. So big conflict of interest.
Here we go. Another story of money. So
Yeah.
basically, because the financial means of a very small minority that has an interest to make a maximum of money, they have been sacrificing an entire population. They should be ashamed of themselves. And Kellogg needs to understand something clearly. And this is a message that I'm delivering to him. The Cold War need was completely stopping, and what you are doing here is reigniting it. And this is not for the benefits of everybody, and especially in the United States, because in the world where all the economies are completely intricated, if there is like a grain of sand within the wheels, what is going to happen? All the economies are going to collapse. And actually, the Biden government has been pushing for de-dollarization because Russia did not have the choice. They were cut off the SWIFT. You know, you cannot use something if the people that are emitting your the currency is just forbidding you, in fact, to use it. You know, you are forced, in fact, to find another solution. So basically, Biden has been shooting the US economy in the heads at the point that the debt of America is not going to be supported. Look at what's happening in Japan. President has been calling, in fact, the president of the Federal Bank in Japan, saying, are you going to buy our debt? And the guy say, no, because we cannot raise for ourselves. China is doing exactly the same thing. They are getting rid of the debt as soon as it's maturing, and they are not renewing it. So therefore, who has been killing himself in this story? This is Biden that has been shooting the US economy in the head because nobody wants to use the dollar. So, and this is something that I was raising as a major issue to General Vallely in a conversation in April 2022. I say, Paul, you know, what is going on here is the end of the US hegemony and the end of the US economy. And what is going to happen in the next 3 to 4 years? Nobody's ready for this. And if you look at all the indexes of the US economy right now, I've been making a major study about it. This is very scary. This is really, really scary.
Well, and that's a whole nother show, Thierry. I'm kind of out of time here for this segment.
Oh, okay.
But what is it? How do people follow you, and what's your last comments?
Oh, you need to go to Global Geopol channel on YouTube, or you need to go on Global Geopol on Telegram, and you will see all the news that I'm posting every day.
Thank you very much, my friend. Always interesting. And I wanted to get the update on Macron and Brigitte. This is going to be interesting to watch.
Oh, yes. This is going to be even more interesting for us, Because if those people are getting debunked, you can imagine the scandal this is going to trigger. Because people will realize that the French government is getting blackmailed because of the personal situation of an individual that has been hiding whoever he is. And at the end of the story, whatsoever he's going to try to put together as policy is going to be rejected. And especially if this guy has in mind, in fact, to trigger the Article 16, the 10th of September, he is going to understand what the French people are about. And these kind of things, you cannot stop it. Voilà.
Thierry, thank you very much. We'll have you back soon. Take care.
Thank you very much, Todd.